Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. This is Yapami Gaming, and today, let's kick it. Let's chill. Let's talk about the world and talk about what's going on in it together. While we play a game, what are you playing? Let me know in the comments. Right now, I'm playing Castlevania again. Played this last video, but I think this one really has my attention right now. I'll jump back to Tekken in a minute. I'll get back to Yu-Gi-Oh in a bit, but those are more thinking man games. This does make you think a bit, but it's more so plotting out stuff, plotting out what to do with it. And that brings me to the topic of what I want to talk about today, planning and plotting things out. One of the biggest questions that we get as working age people is, what are you doing with your 5 after 5, your 5 hours before sleep after your 9 to 5? And I started to think, or I was thinking at one point, that was too much to think of. You work 40 hours a week, which most people are doing. Hell, most people are doing 60. And then you have to come home and basically create a second job for yourself to make things work, to make ends meet. I fought against that, or am fighting against that as much as I can. But the reality of it is, once you realize that you don't want to work forever, you kind of just have to jump into doing something after work to get out of that. It's more of a work now, so you don't have to work later type of situation. I'm slowly realizing for myself that, you have to work after work too. What do I mean by that? What does that look like for you? What does it look like for me? What is the necessity behind working after work? Build skills. Hell, working after work can include a hobby as well. Let's jump into it and see where that takes us. I really want to get into what work can be done after you've been working. Why to work after you've been working. Who are you working for after you were working all day for somebody else? Let's jump into it and really answer those questions here. So when I say working after work, what exactly do I mean by that? I don't mean working more of your original job after work. I mean working for yourself so you can work out of it, if that makes sense. I mean working for yourself so you can work towards your dreams, working for yourself so you can work towards your goals, working for yourself so you can feel like you're still working for yourself. I know I'm repeating myself a lot here and rambling, but a lot of that's it as well. You work for yourself so that you can feel in control of your life and your path and what's going on for you, as opposed to feeling at the mercy of somebody else. And the hard news about that one is that you just have to do that work whenever you can. You have to fit it in after work. You have to fit it in during work. You have to fit it in before work sometimes. I remember waking up early for graphic design commissions that I used to do to get it out the way or to nail out some final details before I had to take care of my day job. And it feels like a lot because I know work is asking for a lot already, but it'll be a lot more of the same over time if we don't do something out of it now. And as a millennial, I know, or as a millennial, me personally, it feels as though I'm already doing that. I have the degree, I have the resume, I have the side hustle, I have side hustle 2, I have the extracurricular activities, I have the hobbies, I have the network, and I just don't. Sometimes it feels as though that's not enough, and it feels as though we've been told to work in a direction that isn't giving us enough in the first place. When in reality, it's more so about how you work those resources. I think I said that in another video here. But when it comes to working after work, that's exactly what I mean. It comes down to managing energy, storing your energy, utilizing your energy for you as opposed to just for your job, which is very easy to do, especially in today's culture in America. We're very work first, we're very work centric, and that does tend to take over more of your life than you may have initially realized you were going to give. And that's the reality of work in this country now. It's like a second life. And in order for us to work out of that, work through that, we have to work after that, unfortunately. But maybe I'm categorizing it as work, and maybe that's not working for you, and maybe it won't work for me. There's other ways we can talk about that. We can talk about what energy you want to have for your passions after work and what you can do after work. And again, I want to talk about how the feeling of having something to do outside of your job makes you feel better. I felt a lot better or feel a lot better when people ask me what I do for work. And I go for my job, oh, I do call center job number 575, but I also do graphic design on the side. I also do YouTube, and I also do resume revisions and copyright on the side. You know, it makes me feel better about being me, because I realize that being me isn't just being a worker, isn't just being a service technician, isn't just being a fry cooker. You know, it's being so many more things in my position. And I think that at least right now, having a little bit of that optimism is going to carry us forward when it comes to making sure that we aren't working these soulless jobs that are lining somebody else's pockets as opposed to lining our own pockets. One of the benefits that I have gotten from working after work, as I like to call it, is that I've gotten more skills transferred directly into work as well. You know, let's talk about that one for a second. That one was crazy to me once I kind of got it like fleshed out. Man, and when it comes to impressing your folks, nothing hits harder than telling them all the projects you're working on, and what dreams and ideas you have cooking up. You know, I'm personally pretty notorious about not sharing things until I have something to show for it. But at the end of the day, when I do have something to show for it, that's kind of all I'm talking about for a little bit. You know, when this channel pops off and I get a couple more videos under my belt, maybe get a couple subs here or there, so you know, a triple digit sub count, I'll start telling more people about my channel, because I have something to show for it. You know, it's an evidence of my work, my energy, my ingenuity being put to something else that doesn't show, or that's not just a job for somebody else or a role for somebody else. And don't get me wrong, I used to get a lot of the accolades I got from work. You know, I'm really good at talking to people. I used to get a lot of customer reviews. I still do get a lot of customer reviews in my current gig, which is customer, support on some level. But I get a lot of reviews. I get a lot of feedback from my clients that are very positive. I talk to people very nicely. I'm respectful. All these things that I know about myself, I'm getting the validation from work on some capacity. But what I don't like about it is that it's fickle. You can be top of the work chart one day, but because your boss doesn't like you, or you made a mistake that was ripple effect to a bigger bunch of mistakes that you have no management over, or let's say you are falling out with a coworker, or there's even some legacy coworkers that are getting better treated than you because they're legacy, just because they're veterans. I've been on the receiving ends of both, unfortunately. Or both sides of that, depending on, my tenure at a place. I tend to stay longer, but it happens. And, something that you feel like you maybe can count on, which is work, big professional setting, and getting something out of that, whether it be a bonus or a promotion or just some goodwill from your company, is just something you can always count on. So when it comes to feeling validated in your skills, your effort, and what you put into improving yourself over the time you've been here on this planet, in the workforce, at school, so on and so forth, you I think you have to have something outside of work to show that your skills are valuable outside of your job. It's just that simple. Again, telling your people that you are also a copywriter, or you're learning how to draw, or you're learning how to paint, or you're taking your time to do something outside of working and sleeping and partying, it's inspiring other people. It inspires you too. It's a lot like investing when it comes to that, in my opinion. The whole compound interest thing. Once you hit 100K, you start to get, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not fully versed on my terms here, so in the comments, let me know if I'm explaining compound interest right at all. But when it comes to the compound interest thing, it's more so once you hit a certain number or a certain value, you get way more out of your interest because it begins to compound on the amount that you have stored. So if you have $100,000, you're going to see more from your returns because you have $100,000 worth of stocks returning to you, and it continues to compound because you keep throwing that money back into the stock, so on and so forth. And it comes back to you, or reapplies to you and your effort as well. As I was saying earlier, you reinvest in yourself and you get more out of yourself. Now, all of a sudden, if you're working for yourself, or you're working on yourself, and you're studying painting or getting better at painting, getting better at doing a skill that you taught yourself, or anything, even if you pick up something from work, right? You take an independent time to get better at that. there's chances for further opportunity to be presented to you, because now you can fulfill another role for another job or for another hobby or what have you, you know. And I want to emphasize that work isn't just a sink of time. I've been talking pretty negatively about it so far for good reason. But one of the positives of it is that at work, you're getting training for specific roles, specific tasks. And if you understand your job well enough, you can take that information, transfer it into somewhere else, and then continue to reinvest in yourself. I know at a couple jobs I've had, they've had certificate options available where if I did the work on my own after work, studied and took the tests, which aren't free, by the way. Most of these certificate tests are not free. If anybody tells you that, don't listen to them. They cost money. But my company, or a number of companies, because a lot of companies do offer this, were able to reimburse me because I was going out of my way to study and get a certificate that not only benefited them as a company, but it ended up benefiting me as an independent worker, as a contractor, as so many people like to call it, which is good because you can take that and transfer it into something else. And again, with all these, or with this current worker climate and all the jobs being created out of thin air, you can make a job for yourself. You can make a niche for yourself. You can be connected to a community that shares your interests and wants to share what you have learned or learn from you by yourself on the internet. And all of the skills that we're learning from the old world of doing things, the old way of doing things when it comes to job applications and things of that nature, we can take that, provided we understand it, like I was saying earlier, and translate that into further value. And all of that's done afterward. If you're at your job doing your job, more often than not, you don't have time to think about this. That's by design. They don't want you to think about this while you're working. Personally, in the belief that they want you to work more at work, so after work you're tired enough where you can't free yourself from this cycle, or you can't think your way out of this cycle. You know, there's a lot of things that can be done after work, and a lot of things that they encourage you to do after work for the company, but we want to make sure that we're getting something out of that so we can translate that to value for ourselves. And again, I want to make sure that when I say work after work, we're not working ourselves to, to the bone for no reason at all. Let's think of a plan about that. Let's go over a couple plans, a couple things that can be done to get you out of it. I want to talk about, in this next part here, a couple things that you can think of based off your skill set, then maybe we can brainstorm here together. And if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Tell me your skills and what you've worked on, and tell me anything that maybe you've learned from your jobs or past experiences that you can take and tell somebody else and have help them with an easier time with their issues. Let me know in the comments. I used to do IT, or I still do IT, so I can help a lot of people with computer stuff. And the lingo that I've learned from talking to professionals about their computers, I've translated that into resume writing. So I can help with people write their cover letters and resumes, provided they give me enough information. But that's a skill that I have. We can work together, make something happen. So let's share in the comments and see, who has a skill. Maybe we can find somebody that can help you. Maybe another graphic designer looking for a logo to make, and you need a logo. Let's chop it up in the comments and let me know. And then I'll get on to the next part here about what can be done to improve upon yourself, or what can be pursued in your time here as a suggestion. I know one thing that I'm keen on trying out here or getting situated for myself is I want to start making, illustrating, and doing PDF books or online guides, or something that I know how to do already for a quick budget. I'm pescatarian now, for example, and I've been pescatarian for coming up on about a year and a half now. And since then, I've learned how to make so many foods that mimic my experience with my non-meat, or with my meat-eating foods. It's really hard to let go of a sear brisket, stuff like that. But I have my reasons, and I still wanted to bring the taste that I grew up with, that I indulge in being a Midwestern native, to the vegetarian plate or the pescatarian plate. I think that there's a lot of value there when it comes to seasoning and stuff like that. So I've been thinking about making a PDF booklet on my methods and what I do to make TVP, textured vegetable protein, tastes more ground beefy, or seeing what I can bring to the table when it comes to, I know I make a killer mushroom tempeh cheesesteak type of sandwich. I want to bring that information to the public and see if anybody can improve upon it, or if it can help anybody else. For example, being pescatarian was hard to start, and I would have had an easier time if I knew how to make some of my favorite dishes now, like fake tofu steak. It's easier that way. But that's information that I have from a path that I walk that I want to share with people. But what the internet is now, it's so much easier to funnel that information directly to people who want to hear it. And that's kind of what it is. Just thinking about your value as a person, what you can bring to the table, because you do have that value. It's there within you. Big dog, I promise. The value's there. Just like our protagonist here, Justy Belmont. He doesn't know he has power within him. He doesn't know he has power within him, but he does. And once he figures out that value, he's able to redefine the value that he sees within himself, which takes him further, and that can do for you as well. Another idea that I'm thinking about is step-by-step hair lock in PDF illustrations. I do graphic design. I retwist my own hair. I've been doing it since I got to put in, and they're looking pretty all right. Maybe one day once we get upstairs, I'll throw a pic up in the chat after the retwist. But they're doing pretty good. For most people, I've come to realize go to a loctician to get their hair retwisted every couple months or so, which costs money. I've been doing mine for free since 2018, about when I got my locks. As much as I would love to get my hair done by somebody, that's $80 that I'm saving every month, every couple months on the retwist I do for myself. So I'm, gonna make a PDF about it and see if anybody can get some value of it. If it works out and gets me money, cool. If it doesn't, cool. The ultimate goal for working for yourself after work or work after work, like I said before, is to give yourself or redefine the value that you have for yourself. Redefine the value and remind yourself of the path you've already walked to get to this point. You're not just like a worker, you're not just a help desk employee or a construction worker or a wallpaper designer or whatever. You're not just that. You're a person that has multiple skills that have gotten you to where you are at this point and carried you this far. So let's dive into them and see what we can really, excavate for ourselves, and see what value that comes of it, what comes of that. Because at this point in time, we're just giving our value away to our boss. They're making money off of it for sure. They're getting revenue off of it, and we may see a fraction of it on our paychecks, but and I know that the total revenue that we generate for our bosses, managers, whoever, in whatever position, we hardly see a fraction of it. So let's stop giving them all of our energy. No, it's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault at this point. The system's been in play for a very long time. It's been working for a very long time. But that doesn't mean we have to work for it. We have to play with it. We can easily brought ourselves around it by realizing our value. Let me know in the comments, your value. Tell me things that you have. I'm interested to hear about it because I'm looking to learn some stuff. So let me know. I still can't fix a bike. I ride bikes and I still can't take my chain off. So let me know how to take a chain off of a road bike, and I will fix it and post it in the community tab. Let's remember that, and let's be nice in the comments and help each other out. Let me know what games you're playing, because I might be done with Castlevania for a bit. I'm probably lying, but we'll see. Let me know if you guys will play anything else. And until then, next video, catch you around. Thanks for yapping with me.